This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted, as always, to be joined by WBO Super Featherweight Champion of the World, Jamel Herring. It's Herring Frampton Fight Week. Finally, it's Herring Frampton Fight Week. How are you, Jamel?
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Like I said, I'm just happy to finally be here. But I'm doing really well.
When did you get to Dubai?
I got here Saturday.
How do you feel? How do you find it so far?
It's actually been very relaxing and peaceful. Very peaceful. Got to do a little bit of sightseeing, but for the most part, my mind is set on just fight week. Like any other fight week, doesn't matter if it's here or in the States. It's just fight week for me.
Now, I kind of alluded to it briefly, tongue-in-cheek, on the intro, but we're finally here after several delays and a lot of confusion. How frustrating, if at all, has been that period of kind of the prolonged nature of this promotion?
Of course, for any fighter, it could be frustrating, especially when you almost get there and then things get pushed back again. So, but I've been there before. This is my last fight. Just that, for the most part, I say it was a blessing that it wasn't me that was dealing with health issues this time around. And like I said, it happens, but you gotta just make the proper adjustments and just go with it.
When you're talking about obviously dates being moved and there's adjustments that need to be made in camp, what specific adjustments have you made in preparation for this fight?
Like for instance, you don't want to overtrain. So when the dates had got moved, my team instructed me to scale back and take some time off at times. You know what I mean? So those are the proper adjustments because this is a big fight for me, and I want to be I want to come to the ring at my best. I want to leave a lot of the fight in the gym. So that's what I mean. You have to scale back sometimes and just work your way back into it just to be on the right track when it comes to fight night.
Now, when the fight was first discussed, there was talk about it being in America. Then, of course, it was scheduled for the UK. Now it's in Dubai. But I'm guessing for somebody like you who enjoyed not only the amateur experience you did, but you, of course, traveled when you were with the military. I'm
Right.
assuming for you, a ring is a ring and you don't mind traveling wherever it is.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, we all know when the fight was first spoken about, I was willing to come to Belfast, so it didn't really matter to me where the ring was at. As long as it was a ring and a set of gloves, I would be there. But we're finally here, and that's all that matters. We actually can finally handle business and take care of things. And I'm very positive that I will have my hand raised.
Now, when this fight was initially announced, when it was initially discussed, you went into it with the bookmakers as quite a significant favourite. That's since evened itself out a little bit. Do you think that has
Right.
anything to do with your last performance?
Oh yeah, of course. But I mean, I hope people realize that also, like I was coming off the pandemic. I was a victim of the pandemic, as I would say. Like my body wasn't feeling right. I wasn't reacting well. When I had got sick, I couldn't go home, so I had to stay in camp and continue to try to make weight and stay in shape. And it was just hard on my body. But I make no excuses. I'm actually glad. I smile when I see the things like the numbers have changed because I know people who are behind me. They feel like they'll still build now. They'll make more money in terms of the terms of those who bet. But yeah, man. Like I said, I'm. You can see I look healthy now. I'm back to myself. I have I'm full of energy. I'm full of life, and I'm just grateful because for the most part, I've seen what the pandemic has done to others. So I really didn't complain as much because um, I know friends. I lost family members due to the virus. So just for me, just to even be here speaking with you, that's a blessing on its own. And I'm just grateful. But more importantly, I'm just happy that I'm back to my old self and I'm healthy again.
Just to expand on that, of course, you contracted the virus. So it's kind of a hot topic or a talking point in boxing at the minute. This past weekend, we saw Alexander Povetkin not look quite himself, coming off the back of a quite serious bout with COVID-19. How do you feel now, and compare that to how you felt when you contracted the virus?
Oh, I feel a lot stronger, a lot stronger. I mean, my body, I put my body through rigorous training, and I took it well. I took it far better than I did over the last summer. And so, yeah, I mean, anyone can tell you, and there's no excuses for that. I mean, anyone can tell you that it does take a toll. It really does take a toll on your body, especially your respiratory system. And you know, with boxing, you gotta have a good set of lungs, you know, to really fight at that high level pace. But I'm just happy. I'm just happy for the most part. I got to go home and spend time with my family. So that's really matters. But we're here now. Like I said, I know what was the issue with the last fight, other than being headbutted repeatedly over and over in that fight. But like I said, for the most part, even then, I was winning every round up until the fight was stopped. I put the guy down with a lethal uppercut. So I had all the capabilities. It's just that my body just wasn't the same as it was in previous fights. But now we're back to normal. That's what I meant also with the adjustments. Instead of the last fight, I trained from April all the way to September because of all the postponements then. So that's what I meant. But this time around, even with the postponements, we knew how to approach it the right way this time, which was make sure you not only train smart but get the proper rest as well.
Now, every fight is obviously a big fight, particularly every world title fight is a big fight. We've heard a lot of talk about Carl Frampton going for history, becoming a three-weight world champion, the first three-weight world champion from Ireland. But for you, this fight, you've mentioned previously about the respect you have for Carl. Just how big of a fight is this for you in your career and your legacy?
Despite what is, and let's be honest at first. Some people all will say that Frampton isn't the same as he maybe was 2-3 years ago. But for me, I respect him so much that I don't really get into that because I look at this Carl Frampton as, the guy who was the 2016 Fighter of the Year. I've been a fan of this man. I am a fan of this man. I respect everything he's done in his career. So with that being said, it still means a lot to me because he is a 2-divisional world champion. And to have that marquee name in your resume, that says a lot for me down the road for my own career and my own path of success. So yeah, I don't like that's but that says how much respect I have for him, despite what everyone says about this fight, that he's not the same anymore, or I can't get into that because he has something that he's fighting for as well. He's fighting for history. So with that in mind, you still have to prepare for the best version of Carl Frampton.
The obvious one here is the size difference between yourself and Carl. You only have to see the photos of you looking against each other after he boxed Tyler McCleary to see that. How big of a factor do you think that will be, and what other differences do you see playing a factor in the outcome of the fight?
I believe, of course, it's going to play a factor, but you can't solely rely on that. You have to be a smart boxer. Great fighters didn't make it just relying on a few aspects of their dimension. So for me, I just have to go in there and still fight a just smart fight. I can't go in there thinking I'm the bigger man. I'm going to just walk all over him and bully him. No, that's stupid. That's because a smart fighter such as himself, I'm pretty sure he's implemented a game plan to counter that. So you still have to go in there and be smart and make the proper adjustments as the fight goes on. Yes, of course, you want to take advantage of the opportunities, but if you can't, you have to learn how to make adjustments and go from there.
Now, super featherweight division is one of the most exciting divisions in the sport. Got Shakur Stevenson, somebody you know well. Got Oscar Valdez's sensational victory over Miguel Berchelt. Let's start with that. What did you make of Valdez's win over Berchelt?
I wasn't surprised. I actually one of the least few that was picking. And honestly, it goes to what I said earlier too, when we spoke about Povetkin and myself. Remember Berchelt, they came off the virus, the COVID had catching COVID as well. But I knew in terms of Oscar Valdez's skill also, I said to myself, if he can weather the storm from Berchelt's assault in the early rounds and taking Berchelt into deep waters, that he can possibly come out, as the victor. Now, I was surprised about how it ended. I thought, if anything, Oscar, like most of us that was watching that night, I thought that Valdez was going to just box him to a clear decision because he was boxing beautifully in that fight. But I give Oscar Valdez much respect in the world. He's a tremendous athlete. And he could become a great fighter as time goes on. But of course, yeah, I would love. That's probably one of the fights I would love to have next with a victory over Carl Frampton. But right now I just have to focus on the man in front of me. But once again, much respect to Oscar Valdez, and also would like to say that I hope Miguel Berchelt is at home recovering well, because that was a scary. It was a scary situation, and despite anything in this, for me in this sport, despite yes, we're competitors, yes, we want to compete and get become the best, but we're humans at the end of the day, and I just hope that Miguel Berchelt is at home, resting and recovering and enjoying life.
Yeah, just to echo that, I mean, you're always a very classy man, so thanks very much for sharing that with us. Final word on the super featherweight division. I mentioned Shakur Stevenson coming up hot on the trails of everybody at 130 pounds. He's spoken openly about wanting to fight for the WBO title. Is that a fight that interests you sometime in the future?
It's a fight that I think about. I think Shakur is one of the best young talents coming up, of course. Like I said, we're good friends, but we know it's business at the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I think about all different, you gotta put yourself in all different types of aspects and scenarios. But for me, right now, I at my stage of my career, I just want to collect as many world titles as I possibly can, of course. So if a world title shot comes, or a unification or another world title, maybe at the lightweight division comes, that's my goal. But yeah, I give all the respect in the world to Shakur. Like I said, I think one day he'll be one of the best pound for pound stars in our sport.
Some big fights at lightweight, Jamel, if you can get up there.
Yeah, I mean, boxing is blooming. It's a lot of great things going on in boxing, and it's just great to be in the mentions with these names of the sport. Because at one point in time, you could be a guy that no one really cares about, or you can actually be grateful that people actually want to see you in these big matchups. So yeah, definitely. For me, I don't shy away from anything, and I'm just grateful just to be, in a position where I can possibly make these big fights with other great fighters.
And final word on your stablemate, Terence Crawford. We know you're very close. We see all of the videos that Top Rank have been putting across social media recently. We are awaiting an announcement from Uncle Bob, the Bob father himself, about Terence's massive pay-per-view fight. Now, I won't ask you what it is, whether you know or not. I won't ask you. But how important is it to get him back in the ring in a big fight?
It's very important. It's very important. He is a fighter. He's born to fight. I mean, this is a man that I know when he's not preparing for a fight, you can always catch him in the gym. You may not see the camera. He may not be as active as I am with social media at times, so you don't see everything. But this man is always in the gym. As a fan of the sport, I really want to see him in those big matchups, of course. But I know Uncle Bob has a good one that the people will enjoy coming soon. And I'm just glad to see him back. I love to see my brother, because he is my brother, back in his zone. He doesn't like taking too much time off. So, of course, the pandemic kind of slowed just about every fighter around the world in terms of their regular schedule. But, for him to get back into it and then get on to another big fight, that is great. But I hope, Uncle Bob hopefully, makes that announcement very soon. But I'm glad to see Terence back in the mix of things.
You're whetting the appetite for it, Jamel.
Yes. Like I say, it's easier for me to sit in the stands than being in the ring taking the punches. So it's easy for me to sit back and relax and go fight.
Okay, well, Jamel Herring, always a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social. Wish you all the best this weekend when you defend your WBO super featherweight championship against Carl Frampton. Thanks very much, Jamel.